Hi, everybody. This is Jess Marion, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm here with my good friend, amazing hypnotist, and guy who's been in the field of NLP forever, Michael Watson. I'm so pleased to have the opportunity to speak with him today. He's talking about his upcoming course, Generative Trance and Personal Evolution, at Hypnothoughts Live this year. It's going to be August 24th and 25th. I had the privilege of taking this course last year, and it's absolutely brilliant. So I'm thrilled to be able to sit and chat with Michael a little bit about it today. So thank you so much, Michael, for joining me.
Well, you're welcome. It's good to see you, Jess. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Well, I certainly am looking forward to Hypnothoughts Live, as I am every year. It's always been such a great experience. And as you know, my topic is generative trance and personal evolution. By the way, you said that I'd been around NLP forever. It's actually forever and one day, as of today. My experience in hypnosis was largely influenced by my relationship with Stephen Gilligan, who's one of my primary teachers, and he's so influenced what I've done that generative trance and personal evolution, the way that I think about it, is a little bit different than the kinds of things that most hypnotherapists deal with on a daily basis. The usual kind of stuff, and what I mean by that, and I mean respectfully, the usual kind of stuff are things like, weight loss and stop smoking and pain management and anxiety and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Actually what I think about is that when my clients come in to see me, there's a process that's already begun. I'm not helping them because they have a particular outcome necessarily, by the way. They may come in with one, and we can talk about that in a little bit, but not because they have a particular outcome, but because evolution is happening. Evolution is happening in their lives. There's a notion that I have that there's a greatness in all of us. Somewhere at the center of our being, there is something that is absolutely magnificent, absolutely wonderful, that really is struggling to find appropriate expression in the world. And sometimes that's quite a struggle. And in that struggle, people manifest things like that we might tend to think of as symptoms. But actually, those symptoms are indications that something is afoot. And to me, that's really kind of exciting. There's a little paradox to that, and that is that when a client comes and says, Michael, I'm terribly depressed. My life is, I'm just really unhappy and uncomfortable. There's a part of me that has all the sympathy in the world for that. All the compassion that I can have for that. And at the same time, there's another part of me that says, hey, something cool is about to happen here, because I recognize these things as opportunities, evolutionary opportunities, where things can begin to change in an appropriate direction. The reason we experience discomfort is that it's time for us to evolve. So that's kind of philosophical underpinning that I have to it, but this greatness in us really kind of wants to come out. And evolution is the process by which that happens quite naturally. Anyway, I have as an example, and again, this comes directly from Stephen, so it isn't original to me, but it so impressed me. A great example of this is the relationship between Anne Sullivan and Helen Keller. I'd like to say that Anne Sullivan was the first generative hypnotist, that there was. And of course, that's not true, but it'd be nice mythology to think of it that way. Because basically, when Anne looked at Helen, who was so lost and disconnected from the world that she so desperately longed to be a part of, Anne kind of looked at her with this thought, I know that you're in there, little girl, and come hell or high water, I'm going to do what it takes to invite you forward, to bring you out into the world. And I really think at the center of each of us there is some part of us longing to be out in the world. So that's kind of what generative trance or personal evolution, either way that you talk about it, really are about to me. I know that there's some people have another notion of personal evolution, and I'm sure we run into this all the time. The idea is I need to keep improving myself, just because it's sort of my job. So, I go to the gym 5 times a week, and and I'm taking a foreign language course, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. We're on a quest for self-improvement. The thing that I think is interesting here is that evolution really is a natural process. So it isn't really about us trying to squeeze every bit out of who we are in order to become something great. It's an acknowledgement that something great is already happening.
And I'm curious if I can ask you a question about this.
Yeah, please do.
Within the scope of practice, how is it that generative trance and your approach help to bring this out within the client framework? Acknowledge this evolution, this beauty inside.
Well, actually, I think it's kind of a reframe that happens in the therapeutic relationship, because there's some exercises I know that you've done, so I appreciate that you can get me on this, and some of the folks hearing this, or watching this, maybe have had a similar experience. But the frame that you hold about the clients that you work with makes all the difference in the world in terms of the quality of the relationship that you establish with them, which then makes all the difference in the world in terms of how you approach them. I mean, my client might be sitting down in front of me because what he says that he wants is to stop losing his temper on the highway. I mean, it could start with something as simple as that. But my job is to recognize then that there is this emerging self, that there is this wonderful creature that's really trying to find an expression, an appropriate expression out in the world. And it is, at least at this point, it's in a state that Stephen would refer to as not quite ready for prime time. I love the expression. And I think, again, if you look back at that relationship with Anne Sullivan and Helen Keller, the same thing happens, that that Helen was tantruming and acting out in all kinds of ways, and it wasn't just enough to awaken her to the world of words, but that was a place. That was a place where a process began, and the process continues then with educating her and sophisticating her and helping that aspect of her that was trying to get out into the world in the first place find an appropriate expression. So I'm convinced that the guy on the highway that's flipping off the people that are on his tail or cutting him off or whatever it is that they're doing, that underneath that there really is something wonderful, and at least in that moment, that's the best expression that he's got.
It seems like it's a fundamental change from the idea of a client coming in, whether it's the guy with the road rage guy or somebody who wants to give up smoking, of kind of contextualizing that client only existing within the framework of the problem. It's a complete paradigm shift to see that the problem as being so much smaller than everything else that the client is. And I think that creates such a fundamental change in the way that we work with people, and it's really frees us as hypnotists to be able to explore something new. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. And in fact, when our clients come to us asking for personal change, of any kind, no matter what it is, I think that a part of this natural evolutionary process is, in fact, the urge that we have to somehow improve or be more or make changes. So I don't take that lightly, and I wouldn't dismiss those as being small changes. Somebody says, I want to stop biting my fingernails. What I know is that experience has risen to the level of sufficient discomfort,
of course,
to alert them to the fact that evolution is wanting to take place through them. We're going to address the fingernails, but isn't it nice to know that this is a part of some great process of emerging as well?
And I think it's a beautiful explanation and description of the process with clients. And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit more about what distinguishes generative trance from the other types of hypnosis that people might be doing right now?
Well, I'll tell you some things that really look different, and I think that are experientially different that is people that are doing generative trance and this kind of personal evolution work. First of all, engage in mutual trance. One of the things that we emphasize in our workshop, in our 2-day program, is it's this idea about being able to enter into a hypnotic relationship with your client. You know, hypnosis isn't something that they're doing over there while you're talking to them.
Right.
You know, it really is something that we do together, and about getting in there and supporting them from the inside, if you will. I think is the best way to work. But here's the distinguishing characteristic, as I think about it, that Erickson says in reference to clients in psychotherapy. Mind you, he's talking about real certifiables. He says, your clients are your clients because they've lost rapport with their own unconscious mind. Mm. And so, in a sense, when I talk about the hypnosis relationship, there's a couple of relationships here. There's the relationship between the hypnotist and the client, one that really is that Helen Keller, Anne Sullivan relationship of support and nurturance, and one that isn't, by the way, anything about I'm going to try to put some ideas into your head. That classic hypnosis model, of you're going to go into trance and I'm going to do the thinking for you for the next little while and install it in your brain. It's not at all what we're interested in, right? So we're interested in helping our clients tap into their own unconscious wisdom. And ultimately, it may begin with the relationship that we have with the clients, but it ends with us turning them over to a richer experience of their own relationship with themselves, where the wisdom comes from.
Right. And in the course, in the 2-day training, can you give the viewers at home some idea of what they can expect, the types of skills in generative trance that they'll be developing, and the type of evolutionary steps they might be taking throughout their experience with you?
Well, sure. First of all, the primary skills have to do with, and this is really hard for hypnotists, by the way, I think. One of the most important skills, I think, has to do with getting yourself out of it. In the sense of understanding when you are with a client that they are complete, that everything that they need is already there. This is a presupposition of neurolinguistic programming, by the way. And in fact, if I might just add a little piece to that, because usually what NLP says is we have all the resources that we need in order to be able to accomplish, what we want or what we intend. And, that's kind of interesting, except that quite frankly, in my own experience, there were a number of examples that I could come up with that seem to argue that point. There are people that I know that clearly don't have all of the resources that they need. At least it seems to me. And yet, actually, what it takes for a person to be able to manifest a change is not only to tap into their own resources of already having certain qualities. Like we tend to go for states like times when people have been more confident or stronger or more skillful or whatever it is, into good resource states. What they also have is a working human neurology. And actually that's all that it takes to be able to build any particular state that the client might need. So what I know is the whole paint kit is over there on that side of the room, and basically what we're doing is teaching our client how to hold the brushes, how to put the colors together that they already have in order to be able to move on into into the kinds of lives that they have decided that they want for themselves. Mm. We don't have an agenda. We don't have an idea about what's right. I don't know how you should solve your problems. It's one of my favorite stories about Dr. Erickson. There's this kid that was in therapy, and he was acting out at school and getting into a bunch of trouble and stuff, and working with his therapist. You might know this story, and you might even know a more correct version than I have, but this is how I remember it. And Erickson took him to a conference or I'm sorry, the therapist rather took him to a conference that Erickson was going to be at. And Erickson agreed that he would spend, a little bit of time doing some work with this kid at this big hypnosis convention. And finally, the session was almost over. The therapist thought, oh my gosh, Milton has forgotten, that he was going to work with this kid that I brought along today, and oh well. And then in fact, Milton did in fact call for him to come up. And he got his good usual rapport with Erickson as he does. But first of all, if you can imagine this child, he's in this room with Dr. Erickson and a number of spectators. I mean, a large number of spectators. So there's something really important going on here. I'm sure that the kid understands. But Erickson said to him, basically, I don't know how you are going to solve your problems. And then dismissed him. And that was the whole message from Dr. Erickson. And interestingly enough, now some people, and those of you who might be watching this that don't have an Ericksonian background, if you don't get this, trust me, Erickson was presupposing, that this young man was going to solve his problems, and set him about the business of figuring out how, rather than if or not that he was going to solve them. And and my understanding is that there was a whole lot of great change behind that. Now I know there's all these great stories. We have a whole lot of myths and legends and fables, and some of them may be truer than others. But in principle, I really like that idea, because what I want to do is I want to take my clients to a place, and I want to teach the folks that are in this workshop how to take their clients to a place where they actually make that connection with their own inner self, so that the situations that they've been struggling with, the situations they've been trying to change, just seem to naturally clear up as a result of having affected that communication with their deeper unconscious mind.
Sounds really exciting. And as I mentioned before, I had the opportunity to attend this class, and I can be the testimony that everything Michael is saying is definitely wrapped up in the experience of the training, and it will transform how you work with clients. It really is a powerful and deeply transformative modality of client-centered work. But before we wrap it up for today, do you have anything else that you'd like to add into the mix that you'd like our viewers at home to know, either about the course or about generative trance and personal evolution?
Well, I think that's about it. That what I really want to emphasize is that we are agents in a process that is occurring anyway with our clients. They wouldn't think to come to you if they weren't already evolving in some way, and change is already occurring for them. So the nice thing is, the beautiful thing is, for hypnotists that struggle with wondering what to do with each and every client, you don't have to know the answer to every human problem that there is. And I think that there's some classes of working in hypnosis where, and we see these online all the time, where a hypnotist will get, or a hypnotherapist will get a client that has a particular problem, and then they'll get online and they'll ask the rest of us, does anybody have a good script for this problem? And it's kind of like the idea that as a hypnotist, I need to know how to lose weight. I need to know how to stop smoking. I need to know how to overcome phobias. I need to know on and on and on of every kind of human condition there could be. The nice thing in this approach is that you really don't. You don't have to know everything about anything. You have to know about how to facilitate a relationship between your clients and their own unconscious mind that allows this healing and helping and supportive wisdom to emerge and make a difference in their lives.
I think that's a really important and beautiful point, because especially when you have clients come in who may not be the typical nail biter, smoker, but someone who's looking for that space to evolve, who's dealing with something that is kind of outside the normal realm of hypnotic work, for a hypnotist to look for the exact answer, the exact script from everybody else about how to work with this client, the risk that is being run is that the client's going to think, no, actually, you don't know anything about this, but I need something. And it's typically that exact space what you're referring to. So it creates a lot more flexibility for the hypnotist.
And in the long run, I think our job is to empower our clients, not to program them.
Right.
Not to start running their lives for them. And I certainly don't want my clients to go home thinking that their life is better because I had a good idea.
Right.
So in any case, I'm really looking forward to this, Jess, and of course I'm looking forward to seeing you in Las Vegas as always, and I hope that the folks will come to the course, which is on the 24th and 25th of August, the 2 days before the weekend of Hypnothoughts Live. It's going to be exciting.
It's going to be a blast. Thank you so much, Michael. For the viewers at home, this is a reminder to just click the link in this post, and it'll take you right to Michael's registration page. Thank you so much for chatting with me about Generative Trance today, and I really look forward to seeing you next month at Hypnothoughts Live.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael.
Yes.